The honourable member for Richmond on a new question.
Mr. Speaker, we've been advised that 3 people were granted temporary unescorted passes from the East Coast Forensic Hospital on Monday, and none of the 3 apparently returned on time. We understand that 1 eventually returned. Another, Mr. Denny, was apprehended by police and now faces criminal charges. But as of last night, we are told that the 3rd is still missing. I'm wondering if the Minister of Justice could advise all Nova Scotians and this House whether the 3rd individual has been apprehended.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
I don't have that answer. That's information that's coming forward. We will get that and get it back to the member and before the end of the day.
The honourable member for Richmond on his first supplementary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Premier says a health question. Minister of Justice could easily have referred it to the Minister of Health to provide a response. He chose instead to say that he doesn't know whether the individual in question is still missing from the facility or not. Mr. Speaker, we heard the Justice Minister explain the protocols that are in place. However, it seems that there's some holes in that system. We know that the best indicator of future violence is past violence, and we know that the person now facing charges was under the government's care in the justice system. Mr. Speaker, the protocols involved by the Minister of Justice clearly indicate that there is a need for notification. So my question to the Minister of Justice, when 3 individuals under the care and custody of the East Coast Forensic Hospital failed to return from their unescorted passes, what warnings were issued to police and to the public?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Because it's dealing with that aspect of it, I will turn that over to the Minister of Health to answer.
The Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I understand the confusion. This matter is very complex. It's complex because we're not dealing with people in custody. We're dealing with patients in a hospital. And their care falls under the jurisdiction of the Department of Health when they're patients in the forensic hospital, when they have been found by the board to be not criminally responsible, and they in fact have had their offenses, they've been discharged with certain conditions. With respect to the 3 individuals, I am not aware that there were 3 individuals that went AWOL, but I am aware that there were 2 individuals that went AWOL, and it's my understanding that the police were notified within the 15 to 20 minute period that is kind of a grace period that's given when they had not returned to the hospital within the required period of time. But as we have indicated, we have procedures in place. We have initiated the review process to look at whether or not those procedures were followed, including the procedures for notifying the police in the time that is required. And with a view to saying whether or not the procedures were followed, and if they weren't followed, why not? And if they were followed, and we still have this terrible tragedy, what can be done to strengthen our procedures?
The honourable member for Richmond on his final supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Justice made it clear yesterday that while the admittance and discharge of individuals at the East Coast Forensic Hospital fell under responsibility of the Department of Health, while they're at the facility, they are under his care and control and his responsibility. So we're going by what the Minister of Justice has told us. The Minister of Justice has indicated that there is a policy for that facility of notifying the public when there are significant incidents, or notifying, especially in the cases where someone either is wrongfully dismissed or unlawfully escapes or is discharged temporarily and does not return. Nova Scotians are rightfully asking today, once an individual who was granted a 1-hour pass did not return, why were Nova Scotians not made aware of this? So I understand the Minister of Justice talking about privacy. We all respect that. But at the same time, when you are told you have a 1-hour pass and you do not return, you give up your rights to privacy, and that's when Nova Scotian safety has to become the underlying concern for this government and for this minister. So I would ask the minister again, if it's not him or the Minister of Health, why were Nova Scotians not advised that 2 or 3 individuals under the care and custody of this government did not return to the facility after their 1-hour pass had expired?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I will answer that. In this circumstances here, if I can point out to the member that there's 2 aspects to the forensic unit. There is one chamber that deals with individuals that are under secure custody. There's the other that's in the process where they are part of the health area that are subject to day passes, to hourly passes, and once they don't return, there's a policy in place which was followed. The police were notified. And that's where we're at. At that point, that we would assess in the future on incidents that go beyond a certain point, and if there's any indications that the person presents a threat, that would be addressed at that.